The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on a 4-day trip to West Asia in order to solidify the Israel-Palestine ceasefire. The visit aims to work on humanitarian aid for Gaza along with bolstering long-term peace talks in the region. This time, U.S.-Palestine relations were on top of the agenda as Blinken attempted to open the channel of communication and rebuild relations. Speaking alongside Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank city of Ramallah, Blinken has vowed the reopening of consulate in Jerusalem that served a diplomatic channel to the Palestinians. Not only this, he has also spoken about giving millions in aid to help the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. The United States would be providing an additional $75 million in development and economic aid to the Palestinians in 2021, $5.5 million in immediate disaster relief for Gaza, and $32 million to UN Palestinian Aid Agency.
As I told Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas, the United States will be moving forward with the process to reopen our consulate in Jerusalem. That's an important way for our country to engage with and provide support to the Palestinian people. We're also working in partnership with the United Nations, the international community, the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian people, the government of Israel, to assist in the relief and recovery efforts in Gaza. This relief is urgent. We have to respond to the profound need to help people in this moment.
At the same time, Blinken has reiterated that Washington intended to ensure that Hamas, which it regards as a terrorist organization, did not benefit from the humanitarian aid. The announcement signaled a clean break with U.S. policy under former U.S. President Donald Trump. Remember, Trump had shuttered the diplomatic mission for Palestinians in 2019 and slashed aid to the Palestinian Authority. The announcement signaled a clean break with U.S. policy under former President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Palestinian President Abbas has confirmed his administration was ready to work directly to help with the reconstruction of Gaza.
كان هناك موافقة على حكومة وحدة وطنية، فنحن فقط شرطنا الأول الالتزام بالشرعية الدولية المعروفة لدى الجميع، عند ذلك نوافق على حكومة وحدة وطنية.
For solidifying long-term peace talks in the region, Blinken backed a two-state solution to resolve the long-standing conflict. He has added that the U.S. believes that this is the only way to truly assure Israel's future as a Jewish and democratic state and to give the Palestinians the state they are entitled to. And amid these high-level talks, Palestinians demonstrated and protested the visit of U.S. diplomat and his meeting with President Abbas in the center of West Bank city of Ramallah. Dozens of Palestinians gathered in protest against the visit, chanting Blinken, "Peace will not happen until self-determination."
Occupation no more.
In tandem with Blinken's visit, the Israeli authorities allowed fuel, medicine and food to enter the Gazan territory. The transfer happened for the first time in 11 days of cross-border hostilities. Joining us on this broadcast is WION correspondent Jagruti Dave. Jagruti, what are the details? Can you give us?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is the United States really trying, having to refocus back towards the Middle East, having, at the start of Joe Biden's administration, really giving messages that the United States was looking to turn away from the Middle East and more towards Asia with a focus on China. But with this 11-day conflict between Israelis and between Israel and Hamas, I think what we've seen is the United States being forced really back into the Middle East. There's been pressure within the Democratic Party to try to force Joe Biden to take more of an active role, in particular from progressives suggesting that Joe Biden needs to be more critical of Israel. Now, the United States had what was one of the defenders, probably the only defender in the United Nations who of the use of Israel's use of force during that conflict. And once again, Antony Blinken has, reaffirmed the United States' commitment to Israel, but he's also talking about United States' responsibility to Palestinians. He's talking about the United States' involvement in the rebuilding of Gaza. And this is a very delicate balancing act that the United States is having to play between its traditional ally Israel, but also the calculation it's making is that if it wants to build inroads to peace in the Middle East, it needs to have more of a relationship with the Palestinian authorities than the predecessor, the previous administration, the Trump administration did. They had focused pretty much on Israel and the relationship between the US and Israel. And so I think we're seeing a bit of a shift there, especially with this announcement of millions of dollars of funding to help rebuild Gaza.
Jagruti, the US leadership has once again reiterated and committed itself to the two-state solution, isn't it?
Well, look, I think Antony Blinken was very clear not to really talk about peace talks, because I think there's a sense, according to reports, that the administration thinks, the Biden administration thinks it's a bit too early to start embarking on peace talks. Right now, it seems, according to sources, that there's a sense that there's very little chance of those talks coming to anything. Right now, what they're talking about is making sure the ceasefire is going to hold. That's the language that's coming from the State Department. And then they're trying to build on a ceasefire that will last. And I think this is the initial stages. This is what the White House, this is what the State Department is saying, that these are the initial steps towards ensuring a ceasefire will hold, and then they will see beyond that.
Right. Jagruti Dave, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and getting us all these details. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.